Hare Krishna, I'm Anuttama. I'm a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, initiated in Seattle in February of 1977. So are you a beneficiary of the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust? In the documents, which I have here, of the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, Srila Prabhupada says that this trust is created and shall be operated exclusively for the benefit of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, incorporated by me, and qualified as a tax-exempt religious organization under the provisions of the Internal Revenue Code, and specifically for the book fund and building fund activities hereinafter set forth in particular. This trust shall exist independently of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and the trustees' functions and duties stated herein shall be separate and not dependent on the governing body commission of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So most people assume, because he says that the International Society for Krishna Consciousness was incorporated by me, that the beneficiary is the corporations. However, I recently ran into an attorney who has studied law and death, and her explanation is that Srila Prabhupada did not leave his trust, his legacy, his copyrights, he did not leave that to some buildings or some corporation. He actually left it to his disciples, who collectively make up the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And she explained to me that all of the law in the United States is based on, she said, when you become an attorney, you find out that law in the United States is based on the common law of England. That's the foundation of the law. And most of us have heard of a concept called common law marriages, in which a couple, opposite sex, living together, having their own household, combined household, maybe producing children, after a certain time, just by their activities, it becomes a marriage. It doesn't have to be recorded anywhere. It just naturally happens. It is a marriage. She says, so similarly, there is such a thing called a common law trust that happens automatically when certain conditions are met. One of the conditions is that a person has to have something valuable. He's called the grantor, and he gives a gift that he places in the care of the trustees. The trustees actually end up owning the gift, but they're not allowed to enjoy it themselves. They have to use this gift for the benefit of the people who are named the beneficiaries. And such a common law trust doesn't have to be recorded with any court system or in any legal manner. It doesn't even have to be written down. It just happens automatically when these conditions are met. So I think we all know in our hearts that this did happen with the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. The moment that Srila Prabhupada delegated responsibility to trustees of spreading the knowledge that he gave us, the International Society became a common law trust. And it makes sense, because when we see on the cover of every book or on the signs in front of the temples, it has Srila Prabhupada's name, and then he required it to be written also, Founder Acharya, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. That's who is intended to be the beneficiary according to the trust documents. So any one of us who is a follower of Srila Prabhupada is a beneficiary of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. The wonderful thing about being a beneficiary of the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust is that as beneficiaries, we have not only the right, but actually the responsibility to insist that the trustees act according to the instructions of the trust. We have the right to insist that they don't change the books, and to insist that they give us an accounting of where the money comes from and where it goes. And we also have a right to insist that the profits from the printing of the books go into the building fund, as Srila Prabhupada instructed. So I guess the obvious last question would be, how do we promote the fact that, or how do we prove the fact that we're actually beneficiaries? And in the notes of this video, I include a link to an article that I've written. And in that article, it has a form for a declaration. If I can get as many devotees as possible to send in a declaration signed by them with the proper legalese that I'll include, then we'll be able to show the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust trustees that we are the beneficiaries and that we mean business.